KR, Decatur, Dallas, Fort Worth, and KYJC, Commerce. Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, are state inspections for your automobile going away? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to this special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Tony Joe's here, as he is every Friday, to take your Car Corner questions. The number to call is 1-877-913-5357. If you have a question for me, I want to invite you to go to the website, prudentmoney.com. There's a section up at the very top that says questions and answers. Just click through and ask a question, and I'll be happy to get that taken care of for you. All at the website, prudentmoney.com. 1-877-913-5357. Tony Joe, I got a question for you.
Alrighty.
You know, there's a fashion thing of women's jeans that they have holes in the jeans, and you pay for it.
Yes, and they cost money.
They cost money, right? So,
see,
and you came waltzing in today. And you got a hole in your right at your knee.
The knee in my pants today, Bob, and you know
you're not trying to make a fashion statement.
Well, no, but you just pointed out that if I wanted to put these pants on sale, I could probably get double what I paid for them. Is that correct?
I doubt it.
You know that. See, I know I'm old, but that makes no sense to me. Paying, I've heard of that where the girls, I guess it's women's jeans, you buy them with holes in them. And they've already got holes in them.
Yeah, well...
I mean, that makes no sense to me at all. And maybe it's just my age, but how does that make any sense?
Well, it makes sense on some level because they wouldn't do it if it didn't.
To who?
It gets... They make them and they sell them, so...
I'm upset.
But you're also upset because you and I... Not that we figure out everything, but
I'm leading into something, though. I'm segueing into something.
We can generally come up with an opinion on something, and usually we're on the same page. Mm-hmm. Especially when you look at state laws and things that politicians do, you can generally figure out they're doing it because of this reason, or you suspect they're doing it because of a certain reason that potentially benefits them. Mm-hmm. So you called me today. Or Tony Joe called me today and said, hey, have you heard about this new legislation that has been passed that changes the whole state inspection deal? Completely changes it. And so I did some research on it, and you and I we're going to talk through it with you. And if any of you can figure this out, a reason for doing this, because the article after article that I went through almost kind of said the same thing. There's nothing that I've read that makes sense about this. So it starts off, most Texas drivers will no longer be required to have their cars pass an annual safety exam after state lawmakers removed the rule from Texas code. First of all, let's take a couple steps back, Tony Joe.
Okay.
Talk about what the state inspection does, what it covers. I mean, I think for a lot of people, they just know they got to get it done, in order to get to pay their taxes and get the sticker and all that kind of thing. Don't want to get a ticket. But talk about what they do today, not 2 years from now.
Okay, so the thing that many of us, well, not me, but many people probably didn't understand, they take their car for an inspection and they wait, and the guy does the inspection and he comes out, hopefully it passed, and you owe $25.50. That allows you then to get information into the Austin Department of Motor Vehicles and then the next step is you can either online or go to the motor vehicle department, and it allows you to then buy your plates, renew your registration tag, which is the sticker you put on the window. So you can't get your car registered unless it's inspected first. Now, that inspection it's a two-part, at least in Dallas, Tarrant, Collin, and Dallas, it is a two-part inspection program. It is, the first part is checking all the safety features, or a few of them, the tires, the wiper blades, the headlights, the horn, seat belts, everything that needs to be functional safety-wise to operate the vehicle. Then the second part is the emissions portion of it, and that is the part where they check the computer monitors to make sure, number one, there's no check engine light on, and number two, that all the monitors have passed so that the car is running properly and not emitting too much pollution out of the tailpipe. Okay? So that's two pieces to the $25.50 that you're paying.
Okay, so we all have a foundation for what this is about. So the legislature repealed provisions in state law that mandate annual vehicle inspections, which means that now they don't do, or starting in 2025, will no longer conduct safety exams. So let's just pause on that for a second, because that is the first of the big mystery. Why in the world would do the politicians in Austin think it's a good idea to make Texas highways, which are already notoriously dangerous, safer by obviously it's not being safer.
More dangerous.
More dangerous.
Than they already are.
Than they already are, yeah. And I can't come up with a reason for that because, well, go ahead.
Well, here's my thoughts on that. First of all, my understanding is that they're going to do away with the safety part of the two-part safety inspection that we now know as inspection, $25.50. Everybody knows about it. Well, this is where I am also upset, Bob, and this has been a long segue, but it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why buy jeans with holes in them? What are they thinking? It doesn't make sense to an old-timer like me. Why would you do away, and I'm just joking with you, but I'm serious now. Why would they do away with the safety portion of the state inspection, yet continue to care about the pollution in the tailpipe? So basically, we don't care if your tires are bald or if your headlights work, or if even one of them works, maybe on high beam, or if the horn works, or if your seatbelts even work. We don't care about any of that. If you get into an accident, at least you're not polluting when it occurred. See, that really, Bob, makes about as much sense as buying jeans with holes in them.
Well, and the thing about it is, and you and I were talking about this a little bit ago for the radio show, is that it's human nature to push off until you're up against the wall. You're not going to get that windshield wiper fixed. You're not going to get the tire fixed, either because maybe times are tough right now and you're choosing between food and gasoline, which is a tough situation, or you're just plain, I'd rather watch DIY on Saturday afternoon than, or DIY, excuse me, on a Saturday afternoon rather than go get my tire replaced.
It's interesting that you say that, because there is an awful lot to what you just said, and I can experience a lot of this from firsthand knowledge that I see with people, and that is, let's just take something as simple as a wiper blade, Bob. The wiper blade over the summertime in this city, the wiper blades, it doesn't rain for 90 days. The wiper blades adhere basically to the windshield due to the heat. And then they go to use them in the fall, the first time it rains, and you can hardly see. You're in a downpour, and you turn on your wipers, and it's almost worse. It's like, wow, maybe I ought to just turn them off and drive in the rain. Well, you don't know it until you're in that situation. Now it's dangerous. Now you can't see anything. The guy in front of you, you don't know what lane you're in. You can't see. This is when you appreciate next time, hey, I need some wiper blades on my car because I don't want to be in that. That was scary. Well, you know what? Scary is going to be that situation for an awful lot of people, and we can't afford, at least I don't like the idea of my grandchildren driving around in the back seat with their mother and somebody else experiencing this for the first time. That's one of the things, one of the factors that you don't have to worry about when it comes to a safety inspection. If those wiper blades don't work good, you're not going to pass the inspection program. So until you get the wiper blades replaced, you're not getting it inspected. So that's one aspect of something very simple that displays how important to me a safety inspection is. So to do away with that, I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point, but look at the bald tires and the seat belts that don't work and all the other things, the headlights that don't come on. All these things are just going to be pushed aside as non-consequential, but we're going to care how much pollution you're putting out of the tailpipe.
Well, the good news is that you still get to pay the $750.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And so when you go to register your car, well, we need to talk about what's going to happen in Dallas, Colin.
Yeah, there's a difference in.
Yeah, and we'll get to that on the other side of the break. But you still have to pay for the fee, even though you're not getting anything. And it's always kind of imagined these legislators sitting around a table going, well, what do we call the fee now? Get this, the inspection program replacement fee.
Bob, if something went wrong with your car, could I, and you called me and said, hey, buddy, can you help me out? Something's wrong with my car. And I'll say, well, I might be able to, Bob, but how about if I just don't fix it? I give you no service at all, yet you still pay me. How would that go over with you? I mean, would you be willing to pay me? I mean, really, because if you are, I'll be on the phone first thing in the morning.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it didn't make sense. This is Bob Brooks, 1-877-913-5357. We will talk about what you still have to do on the other side of the break. Stick around, I'll be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org. At pastorchuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at pastorchuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org.
The Lord has given us gifts, spiritual gifts, to help us do what God has called us to do. Do you know what spiritual gifts are yours? Tune in this week for a new beginning as Pastor Greg Laurie helps us discover those gifts and determine which the Lord has given to each of us. It's a study in Romans this week on A New Beginning with Pastor Greg Laurie.
A New Beginning, weekday mornings at 7:30, here on KDKR.
Hi, this is Kirby Anderson with the Point of View Radio Talk Show. I want to invite you to listen to our program on KDKR from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. Monday through Friday. We look at various issues from a biblical perspective. Our topics range from politics and economics to the Bible, theology, and apologetics. We also bring authors and informed experts to the program. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. Hope you'll join us every day on Point of View right here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. 1-877-913-5357. I do have a line open, and we would love to to talk to you today. Sorry, Tony Joe is over here trying to make me laugh. Okay, so you're not out of the woods, though, because if you're one of 17 Texas counties, you're still required emissions inspection. So nothing's going to change for you except for you can roll on up to that garage to get that emissions emissions taken care of with a bald tire, and nobody will care. So these particular counties are Harris, Johnson, Kaufman, Brazoria, Collin, Dallas, Denton, Ellis, El Paso, Fort Bend, Galveston, Harris, Johnson, Kaufman, Montgomery, Parker, Rockwell, Tarrant, Travis, and Williamson counties. In other words, pretty much the majority of Texas is
the most populated counties. You're right, Bob.
It's funny.
The most populated counties, a large population in a dense population in a small area. Let me just repeat that. Requires what we call attainment counties. These are attainment counties. Why are they attainment counties? Because there's so many cars packed into a small landmass. They want the pollution standards more strict on these particular cars than if you live out in Lubbock or, way out west somewhere, heading towards New Mexico, some little burg out there. Those are not attainment counties. They do not have to have the emissions portion. Never have had. They can drive around with their check engine light on for the whole life of their car. And I know a lot of people don't know that are listening right now. There's two separate entities when it comes to what county you live in Texas. So what we're trying to baseline here is that the bigger counties with the more dense populations where there's more cars packed into a smaller area have to meet the emission standards. They're called attainment counties. Bob just listed all 17 of them. I think, now I haven't put pen to paper, and I know you haven't, Bob, but I would be willing to bet the majority of the automobiles are going to be in those 17 counties. And the rest of them are going to be scattered throughout the other 230 counties in Texas somewhere. But the point is, it just does not make any logical sense to me.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions, because this is dangerous, because I'm doing this off the top of my head, and I may get through it and go, boy, that was really dumb. But we'll just go with me on this.
Okay.
If I brought my car to you to do a state inspection, and you had to do the emissions part of it, how much time does that take? The admissions part as compared to a safety check.
First of all, let me just explain. I do not do safety inspections,
I know.
I know how they're done. The emissions portion alone for the safety inspection takes about 5 minutes.
Okay.
You hook it up to a computer, you read certain data on a screen, and either it passes or fails.
Okay, so is it safe to assume that if you take out the safety inspection, because the shop gets paid for something, that they could be saving a couple of bucks per car?
In time, you mean?
Like every year, they're saving. The state of Texas is saving $2 a car by not having to pay the mechanic. I'm just going.
No, Bob, I don't think so. And the reason that I say that is because there's still. The state inspection facility gets a certain amount of money per $25.50 charge that a customer pays for a state inspection. Now, I don't know how much they get. I don't do state inspections, but they get a certain amount of that money.
But they're not going to get the same amount. Think about it.
Right. No. Now.
So if that adds up, when you talk about the millions upon millions of cars driving Texas.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are, but I do know they're still going to have to pay the facility a certain percentage.
But it's reasonable. They're not going to pay them the fee they're paying them today.
Probably not.
I guess so. You add that up, that's free money, tax money.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because is the charge going to go from $25.50 minus $7.50? Quick, Bob, you're the mathematician. $15? What? I mean, I don't know if the charge is still going to be $25.50, or if it's going to be, if they're going to deduct the $7 safety inspection portion of it out. Because while you're looking, let me just explain about that. If you have a car, even in an attainment county like Dallas, and it's 25 years or older, you no longer have to worry about the emissions portion. You bring it in, they check the tires, the horn, the wipers, Then they give you an inspection, and the I believe the charge is $7. So that's confusing as well. If your car's 25 or older, you no longer have to abide by the emission standard. It's not required. They only do the safety portion of the inspection, and that charge is $7. So I'm assuming if you don't need the safety portion of the inspection and you only have to have the emissions portion, does that deduct $7 from the $25.50 that you would normally pay? $15.50. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. That's information I don't know about at this time. But if they did, then I could understand it. But as this whole program is going, nothing makes sense. So my guess is they're going to charge $25.50
Okay,
anyway.
but think about this for just a second. There's 22, I was looking for this number, there's 22 million registered cars in the state. If they could save a fee that they're paying per car, that adds up to a lot of money, right?
Who's saving the money? Well, I'm lost.
If the state of Texas is saving the money, they don't have to pay the mechanic or the place to do the safety inspection. They're just paying for them to do the admissions test. See what I'm saying?
Yes, but Bob, I don't think you don't understand, or at least my understanding is, regardless of how much the safety inspection costs, $25.50 surcharge at this point, they're only getting a small percentage of that kickback, so to speak, to the facility doing the work. So if they reduce the safety portion, or if they eliminate the safety portion, I don't see how the state of Texas is going to save anything. They're not paying the mechanic or the facility, let's say, any more or any less than they normally would, in my opinion, because the safety portion of the inspection, which is the most important portion of the inspection as far as I'm concerned, is basically walking around and looking at things and making a judgment on whether it's going to pass or fail. It's not like there's a lot of time involved, so I don't think they're paying them a whole lot of money to do this. Maybe we had an inspector call in and he could enlighten us on some of this, but unfortunately I don't do inspections, so I don't know the charges and the percentages, but I don't think the state's going to save much by doing that. I know your question is good, but the state's going to lose a lot, in my opinion, with, I mean, I'm not getting off the subject. The state's not going to save anything. They're going to lose. They're going to lose with, car wrecks and manpower and fire.
Yeah, but that's
and police.
that's after the headline numbers. So you never see what the headline numbers turn into. So
Right.
the tax savings. Of course, they're never going to call this a tax savings anyway. But there's got to be some kind of measurable tax savings for the state of Texas, revenue producer.
Yes, there has to be
Not tax
something
savings.
in it for the state, and I just don't know what that is. I really don't. I can't see it. I can see no advantage to the
Okay,
state
so
for not
here-
making these cars safe to drive.
I've never done this before.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you homework.
Okay.
Go, because you know people who have this information.
Yes, and I'll get it by next week. But
Yes.
you know what, Bob? I'm hoping one thing.
Yep.
My hope is that my information up to this point is missing something critical. Because
Good
if I
point.
come back next week and reiterate everything I said this week, it's just bad all the way around. It's just not going to be a good thing.
Yeah, so you really heightens the awareness of taking care of your car, doing those safety checks yourself. If you see a tire that's really getting bald,
You know, in the days previous to where I am at the height of my career at this point, believe it or not, there was a time as a teenager when I first got my license, we used to go to the dumpsters and get tires out of the dumpster that people were throwing away. And they were labeled two different categories, May Pops or Will Pops. All right? We used to
are you
put
being
those...
serious?
Yes. We used to put those tires on our car to see if we could stretch it a little bit and not buy another tire. Now, Bob, I know that sounds hilarious, but there are people out there that live that way. There's people that are in financial straits due to the, what do we call it? Biden inflation? Or inflation, that's what it is. Anyway, I'm telling you, it is tough for some families out there, and to have to pay to buy a new tire at $100 or $75, and not having to spend that money, they're not going to spend that money.
So true. This is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.